Greetings everyone, welcome to my review of Archie Sonic issue 215. Today we're starting another two-parter that'll have Sonic and another freedom fighter, well, former freedom fighter in this case, visit a location on Mobius to solve a problem. If you recall, at the end of the previous issue, Rotor got word that his walrus herd has been taken by the Dark Egg Legion. So we know what the general idea of this issue is going to be. Silver the Hedgehog will also be involved based on the cover here. If you don't know, during this point in the comics history, Silver was searching for a freedom fighter traitor that would cause his bad future to exist. So far in his attempt to alter history, he hasn't had much success. The first time got him involved in a fight with a bunch of other hedgehogs, and the second time, he was gassed for most of that story. Who knows, maybe he'll have better luck this time. Let's get started. We begin with Nicole projecting a holographic message in front of Sonic and the Council. Well, that's freaky, considering Nicole herself is a hologram. Anyway, this guy here is Guntiver, leader of the Arctic Freedom Fighters. He says the walrus herd is being used as slave labor to build some sort of refueling station for something big. I'm sure it's nothing to worry about. And he requests that New Mobitropolis send anyone they can spare. After the transmission ends, Sonic is raring to go. Based on this dialogue, I assume Sally and Amy are currently searching the Egg Dome again for Eggman, and we can also assume Tails, Bunny, and Antoine are still away, hopefully not getting themselves into trouble or anything. It doesn't matter since this situation involves Rotor's herd, and Rotor will want to tag along, right? Well, no. Hamlin here shoots down that idea, saying Rotor's retired from adventuring and has council stuff to worry about. Before things get out of hand, Rotor takes Hamlin's side and entrusts Sonic with saving the herd. You may think, Rotor, have you lost your mind? This is your family. However, once the council's adjourned, Rotor tells Nicole to secretly meet him at his place later. Sonic packs some power rings and heads for the northern tundra where he meets up with Guntiver. He takes them down below where we are reintroduced to the other members of the Arctic Freedom Fighters. Flip Penguin, Augustus the Polar Bear, who's gotten into shape since we last saw him, Celia Seal, who reminds Sonic of their last meeting way back in issue 26, and then there's Irma Ermine, who looks like she's gotten up on the wrong side of the bed. There's a reason for this. Originally, the Arctic Freedom Fighters weren't really a freedom fighter group. They were more like an activist group, though some, namely Irma, wanted to be more active. Well, when the Eggman Empire came along, the group officially became freedom fighters. Irma goes over the plans for the Legion base, which is divided into two sections, above the ice and below. The Legion controls the latter section, while the Walrus slaves hold the former. The plan is for the group to split up, with Flip, Celia, and Augustus taking care of the underwater section, while Sonic joins Guntiver and Irma above. Celia asks, "Where's Rotor?" And Sonic has to explain the injury that wrecked his back and how he had to step down from adventuring. Which brings us to Rotor and Nicole at his place. He wants her to use the nanites to build him something. Nicole, though, is no longer comfortable with using the nanites ever since she was brainwashed in issues 208 and 209, and there are others in the city that feel the same. Rotor says the Iron Dominion situation has everyone on edge, but it'll eventually pass. Besides, this is an off-the-grid operation. Yeah, that whole agreeing with Hamlin thing was just to get the pig to shut up. Rotor's herd is in trouble, and he is not going to take this lying down. He hopes what he designed will help him get the job done quickly. And what did Nicole create based on said designs? A power suit, one capable of flight, among other things. On his way to the northern tundra, he reminisces on all the stuff he's built in the past, namely powerful weapons. And we learned during the time Sonic was in space, he took things a bit too far. This resulted in him almost losing teammates, and after that, he swore never to build weapons again. He admits he's followed that oath to the extreme, and some of his actions since have been hypocritical. But he's certain about this situation. Once he frees his herd for good, he'll officially retire from adventuring. Back over to Sonic, as he and the Arctic Freedom Fighters approach the base, Sonic wonders why the walrus herd keeps getting enslaved. Irma speculates it's because they're either the most prominent species in the area, or their city of Iceborough has the most influence in the region, or perhaps both. Well, they arrive at the base, and there's the walrus herd, once again, under mind control. Rotor's journey to meet up with Sonic is interrupted. He tries to take down his attacker, but the attacker outclasses him, and it's none other than Silver the Hedgehog. The reason he's after Rotor is he thinks he's replaced someone named Boomer Walrus, which leads Silver to conclude that Rotor is the traitor. To see how Silver reached this decision, let's take a look at the backstory, which takes place in Silver's future. He's on Onyx Island, aka a grounded angel island, doing research. He comes across a picture of the freedom fighters in their youth, with the walrus member being called Boomer. Funny enough, the book says they were the first freedom fighters. So, no mention of the original freedom fighters led by Colonel Stripe? Well, that's a shame, isn't it? Based on him apparently skimming the book, Silver believes that this Rotor has taken Boomer's place and goes off to see his master about it. Silver has a master? Well, you know. At the last minute, he decides, you know what, I don't need to see him. I've got it right this time. As he's about to use the time stone to head into the past, he's starting to have doubts about killing someone to save the future. He's considering having a chat with Rotor until he takes another look at his devastated world and decides, yeah, he's going to die, and utilizes Chronos Control. Like with the previous two-parter, we got some expansion on characters. First, the Arctic Freedom Fighters. We get a little more of their backstory about being an activist group at first, and why we only see some of them pop up here and there until Eggman showed up. Some of their members have changed. For example, Augustus. He's gotten into better shape since we last saw him. A reasonable explanation is, he probably worked out during Sonic's year in space. Another change to this character is he no longer speaks. I get they're going for the strong silent type, but it's odd since we've seen him talk previously. I guess he donated his vocal cords to Irma, who never said a thing until this issue. I would best describe her personality as no nonsense, and that's me being kind. We'll see more of this next issue. You know, from their limited appearance, I kinda like that these guys have some sort of personality, makes them seem real, at least more real than their previous appearances. The big character fix in this issue is Rotor. First of all, kudos on him for not taking the situation lying down. No bad back or council stuff will keep him from saving the herd one last time. Seriously, this plot thread has been going on forever. It started in the backup pages of issues 31 and 32, then Rotor left the Freedom Fighters for a time because Robotnik's death freed the herd, and he wanted to go home to his family. Issue 85 had the herd re-brainwashed thanks to Eggman. Afterwards, you'd think being freed by the Sword of Acorns in issue 109 would end this plot for good, but nah, here we are again. This time, the Dark Egg Legion's responsible. I'll talk more about how they did it next time. Anyway, back to Rotor. Thanks to Nicole, he's got himself a power suit, which the powers that be have dubbed Iron Rotor. No relation to the Iron Dominion, of course. But I have a feeling it is related to something else that has iron in the title, which made sense at the time. The first two Iron Man movies were out, and why not? It was a way for Rotor to get back out there without worrying about the back injury, just like how Tony Stark dealt with his own problems his way. The big character fix comes into play when Rotor reminisces about his weapons making career. Longtime readers would remember this odd contradiction in Rotor's personality, from when he once made weapons like this big old blaster here, to the idea of, we don't use guns as demonstrated in the Good, Bad, and Unknown arc. We get an explanation that makes sense. While Sonic was in space, yeah, I know I brought it up again, but it's important, Rotor kept building bigger weapons until the escalation almost got someone killed. Looks like Larry Lynx in this case. Man, that guy's got bad luck. So yeah, going too far would make someone swear off weapons making. As he pointed out, he went way too far in the other direction and recognized at times he was hypocritical. Like the time he worked with Uncle Chuck to build those metal Sonic Troopers. Well, now we know where his priorities lie. Save the herd and then retire. the issue starts a new subplot that will escalate down the line. The people becoming afraid of Nicole and her nanites. It's understandable there would be fallout from the Iron Dominion takeover. For a time, New Mobotropolis, the place they thought was safe, became a death trap. They don't want to go through that again. Speaking of ongoing plots, Silver the Hedgehog is after Rotor, believing he's replaced someone called Boomer. I'm going to go ahead and say he's goofed up once again. I'll go into detail related to the Boomer situation next time, but it illustrates a problem time travelers deal with: getting as much accurate information as possible. Silver's from 200 years in the future, and sometimes historical facts change as time passes. We also see more of Silver's naivete. Instead of going to his master to confirm the information, he's convinced that this time he's good enough to fix the future, while explaining why he switched from the Super Warp Ring from issues 195 and 196 to the Time Stone in Sonic Universe issue 8. This bit about Silver questioning killing someone to save the world. It's another time traveler's dilemma. Killing someone before the moment history says they did something bad. It may fix the future, or it may make things worse. I think this moment was also inspired by this bit from Sonic 06.
To kill someone to save the world, is that really the right thing to do?
We see a glimpse into Silver's future, and while it's not under attack by a fire monster, as far as we know, something had to have happened to give it this awful look. For instance, a crashed Angel Island, now renamed Onyx Island. What happened to the Master Emerald? Did it shatter beyond repair? Did it just disappear? So many questions that will remain unanswered. The island has some references to the Mobius 30 Years Later arc, such as the picture of the future freedom fighters and the broken statue of Lara Sue. Now, I believe that timeline is an alternate future. So how did all of this end up in the main future's timeline? A convergence down the line, maybe? Ooh boy, I've talked a lot in this issue, and I haven't gotten to the artists yet. If you cannot tell by now, Stephen Butler once again does the art, but only for the main story. The backup story is done by Jamal Peppers. I should comment that Ray Dillon's coloring in the backup story adds to the atmosphere of this bleak future. My final score for this issue is 7. I did enjoy some things like the aforementioned fix in Rotor's character and a peek into Silver's future, but some things bugged me, like Hamlin's jerkish attitude. Keep this up and I'll put you on the same list as Skunk Boy. Next time we'll see how Rotor and Silver resolve their conflict, and how Sonic and the Arctic Freedom Fighters will free the Walrus herd for good. See you in issue 216. At this point in time, it'll take 8 years before MCU Tony Stark gets his own nanite suit. So Rotor has you beaten there, buddy.